Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back for Veda day number 27? 28. Today's the 28th, Sunday the 28th, and it is the last and final mukbang, the last and final weekend of Veda 2019. In today's video, if you can't already tell what I have, Chipotle. I'm super excited. I'm super duper amped and excited for this mukbang, you guys. Now I got I got a burrito bowl. I get white rice, black beans, chicken, hot and mild salsa, and cheese and sour cream. I'm hungry, haven't eaten all day, excuse the face. I'm drinking water, lots and lots of water to try and cure that. Yeah, whatever. I'm hungry, let's eat. So anyway, in today's mukbang, we're going to talk about Avengers Endgame. Now, the movie opens up with Tony and Nebula. They're still trapped in space. They're floating, going nowhere specifically. They're running out of food. They're running out of oxygen. And Tony's recording his last message to Pepper, saying that, you know, the end is inevitable, but that he loved her and that he'll miss her and that he dreams about her every night. And then we see Nebula position Tony in a seat at the front of the ship so he can look out and see, you know, the horizon and what's coming. And it's just this beautiful glow that we see approaching the ship. And he opens his eyes, and of course it is none other than Captain Marvel. So she brings them back home and drops them off at the Avengers headquarters, where Natasha is, Cap is, Rhodes is, and Pepper are there. Now, one of the things that's never explained, did they already meet Captain Marvel? Did she find them floating in space? Like, how does she know where to bring them? Like, was there an introduction that we didn't know about? Like, I'm confused. So, what I think happened is that at the end of Captain Marvel, one of the end credits, we see her find, I think my camera keeps sliding. We find Captain Marvel, and she's at the headquarters, and she's responding to the distress call from the pager that she gave Nick Fury. So I think that was their first, well, yeah, that was their first encounter. So I don't know if maybe at the end of the movie they told her that Tony was out there floating, so she had to find them and bring them back. But she ended up bringing them back. And, you know, Tony and Cap finally see each other again, and words are spouted. Ready for anger, because Tony's like, I knew this was gonna happen. You guys should listen to me. Like, when I warned you guys that there was stuff happening in space, we were doomed. You said, you know, we'll lose together, we'll win together with the Avengers. So anyway, they decide to take down Thanos, and Tony's like, I'm sitting this one out. He pretty much decimated everybody that I loved except for Pepper. I lost Peter. I fought him. You don't know what he's about. And, you know, Cap's like, yeah, we fought him too in Wakanda. He beat us. We lost people on, you know, our side too. So, you know, it's time for us to band together. And Tony's like, whatever. I'm sitting this one out. I'm tired. I'm glad that I'm home. You know, I'm done. So Captain Marvel, Nebula, Rocket, Rhodes, Thor, all of the people that are still left alive, essentially, after the end of Infinity War, go to find Thanos. And it's so funny because, Nebula tells them that he's in his garden, he's retired, so we see his armor. He's literally hung up his armor. So we find out where he is because he's just used the Infinity Stones. So it's so weird to see him because it cuts to a clip of him like in his garden picking vegetables and making soup. I'm like, okay, he's domesticated. Like, it's so weird to see him domesticated. Like, I've only seen images of him as this brute, warmongering, sociopathic, murderous thing. And now he's like salting soup and tasting it and setting his table. They attack, and very quickly they cut off the arm or the hand that's got the gauntlet on it, and they see that it doesn't have the stones, and they're like, where are the stones? And he's like, I destroyed them. I had to use them to destroy them. They're gone. And we're like, we need to find the stones. And Thor just pops out of nowhere and decapitates Thanos. And I'm like, wow, man, like, everybody's like, really? Like, it happened so fast. I didn't even realize what happened, you know. And I'm like, really? Really, Thor? But throughout the movie, Thor is just very in his feelings, and he's very upset, and I think he has survivor's guilt, really. And he feels like he failed because he could have saved everybody and prevented Thanos from snapping his finger had he gone for the head. So when he decapitates Thanos, and everybody looks at him in shock, like, what's wrong with you, Thor? He goes, I went for the head, and he just walks away. And I'm like, okay, bro. That in it itself says so much about your mental state right now. But then 5 years go by, and Nat is still at the headquarters. She's still checking in with Rhodes and Captain Marvel, and Nebula and Rocket have teamed up together. They're trying to rebuild and restore the universe after everything, because when Thanos snapped, he literally wiped out half of the universe. So planets, galaxies, and light years away that we know nothing about, that are in our galaxy, our universe, you know. So Captain Marvel's everywhere trying to like fix things and put out fires. And then Captain America comes and sees Nat, and you know, she's upset because she feels like she doesn't have her family anymore, the family that was made up of, you know, the Avengers. So she feels like she's lost them. And she's working with War Machine, Rhodey, to try and track down Clint, Hawkeye. Because Clint has turned into an assassin for hire, a killer. So he's like killing drug lords and stuff like that. And while Cap and Nat are talking at headquarters, we find out what happened to Scott because at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp, he goes into the quantum realm and he ends up getting stuck in there because the people that were supposed to pull him out, Hope and her parents, they get dusted when they snap. So he's been in there for 5 years. But if you know anything about physics and quantum physics specifically, time is relative. It doesn't really work the same there as it does in the real world. So five years outside in the real world was only 5 hours for him in the quantum realm. So he comes up with this theory that, hey, we can go back in time using a quantum realm and bring everybody back. We can bring everybody back. We can get the stones and bring everybody back. So it's like this argument essentially of we don't have the brains to utilize this technology, so we need to figure out people who do. And of course, they turn to Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, who has since combined the Hulk and Bruce, so now he's like a conscious Hulk. Like, he's got Hulk's build in his body, but he's still very much consciously Bruce Banner. So he's decided to just accept Hulk as part of his identity and live unanimously. That's the word. But Banner's like, yeah, I'll help you guys, but that's not really my area of expertise. We're gonna need somebody else. So of course they turn to Tony, who is now married to Pepper Potts, and they now have a daughter named Morgan, who's gorgeous and lovely. She's just the cutest little thing. She's like 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, something like that. And Tony's like, I'm glad to see y'all. I'm glad everybody's okay, but I'm not gonna risk the life that I have now chasing after a fantasy. Because what if it doesn't work? What if we lose everything? I can't. So they decided to try it without him. And they fail because they can't send somebody through the time warp without that affecting the person. They don't have the technology to prevent that from happening. So they did a few test runs with Scott. And they ended up turning him to a baby, then an old man, then teenager. So Tony ends up coming up with some technology that can make sure that the person traveling through the space-time continuum does not change. Only the surroundings around them will change. So they all decide to do some test runs. But Tony's like, you gotta get everybody. Everybody's gotta come. So Rocket and Hulk go to get Thor. He has found a new place. It's called New Asgard. So the remaining survivors of Asgard and Valkyrie, are finding and rebuilding a new community and a new home. But Thor has been shut off and isolated from the rest of the world. He only drinks and he only eats and plays video games. So he's got a little chubby. His hair's grown out. There's no upkeep. He hasn't combed or brushed his hair. And his beard is like crazy. So I thought that was like really weird. It was really funny. Natasha finds Clint, brings him back, and they do a few more test runs, and they end up formulating a plan to just go back and get the stones. Changing the past does not change your future. Changing the past only creates another branch, another timeline within the space-time continuum. So in this reality, this didn't happen, but this still happened. So this is time, and you did something to go off course. So now, you're off there somewhere, you're off course, but this is still happening. This still continues to happen, and that still continues to happen. So that's the way time works when you change something. So they ultimately decide to just go ahead and get all the stones, and then they ultimately are like, okay, well, we'll get all the stones so that he can't get them. We'll bring everybody back, and then we'll go and we'll put the stones back. So they all get together. They split into teams. Nat and Clint are going to go to Vormir to get the Soul Stone. Rhodey and Nebula are going to go get the Power Stone, which is on, I think, Morig, something like that. And what else? Who else? Thor and Rocket are going to go get the Red Stone. I don't know which one that's called. And Cap, Scott, and Iron Man are going to go get the Space Stone, the Tesseract. I'm pretty sure that's not 6. But whatever. Oh, Bruce goes to go get the Time Stone. Time, the Red Stone, the Soul Stone, the Power Stone. So, I'm missing 2. But I don't know, I don't remember. Anyway, they all split off in their teams and go to the correct timeline. And already stuff is starting to go downhill. They end up losing the Tesseract. Loki ends up getting it. By the way, we don't find out where Loki went. That's never revisited. The Tesseract is just gone. Like, we don't find out where he went. He takes it and he goes into a space portal and he's just gone. Like, we don't know where he went. It's never brought up again. And Thor and Rocket go back to Asgard because the stone is like inside of Jane and they have to like get it out of her. But Thor, it's still in his head, you know, like he still mentally does not really want to do this, but he does want to do it because he's trying to redeem himself. So they get there, he chickens out, but he ends up bumping into his mom because this is before she dies. So he gets to have time with her and he tells her about everything that happened, and she's like, I don't want you to tell me about my future. Like, I just want you to do better. I want you to be better. Because quite frankly, you look like crap, son. So they end up getting the stone from Jane. They end up getting his hammer back and going back to normal time. But the thing that gave me anxiety is the fact that, which I don't think that they should have sent Nebula to get the stone on Morag or Marag or whatever, because Thanos, past Nebula, and past Gamora are there. So because Nebula is like made up of parts and like technology, excuse me, when both of those parts are in the same vicinity, they start feeding off of one another and start reacting. So the past Nebula is connected to the future Nebula for obvious reasons. So they can tap into her mind and her energy or her memories, and they find out that in the future Nebula betrays Thanos, and in the future Thanos, he sees his destiny, he sees that he dies, but he also realizes, excuse me, that he did in fact achieve his goal of finding all of the Infinity Stones and wiping out the universe. But he's a little bit annoyed because he's like, I tried to do this to make this a better place, but I didn't really take into account the fact that the people left behind would know what the world used to be and would long for that and try to reverse what I did. So now he's like, what I'm going to do now is just wipe out everybody and create a new universe that knows nothing about the past and that will actually be grateful for their reality. So anyway, they end up finding the past or the future Nebula. They end up kidnapping her, and past Nebula ends up posing as her, and she goes back to, you know, the present with everybody else. Meanwhile, Clint and Natasha go to Vormir to get the Soul Stone, and just like in Infinity War, we find out that somebody has to be sacrificed in order for them to get the Soul Stone. So, they fight. Nat and Clint fight over who it's gonna be, and it's really sad because they like literally fight to jump over the cliff. But ultimately, Nat ends up overpowering Clint, and she sacrifices herself for him to get the Soul Stone. So they get all the stones and they meet back in present day and they make their own Infinity Gauntlet. And they fight a little bit about who's gonna wear the gauntlet to snap it and bring everybody back. And for a little bit, Thor's like, it should be me. I'm the strongest Avenger. I want to do something right. I need to do something right for once. And Hulk is like, no, I was made for this. It's got to be me, because they know that there's a risk, because the stones are so powerful that whoever wields them can do serious damage to themselves. Like, just using the stones nearly killed Thanos. When in the beginning we see half of his body is like all burnt up from the radiation from using the stones. So Hulk is like, it's mainly gamma radiation. I'm the way I am because of gamma radiation. I specialize with gamma radiation, so I have more experience with this. If anybody should do it, it should be me. So he does it, and it's nearly kills him. It nearly kills him. And for a brief shining moment, you know, we look out, the sun is out, birds are chirping. Clint gets a call from his wife, who had disappeared with the snap. So we know that everybody's back. So we know that it worked. But for a brief shining moment, we have that. And then, I don't know where, the old Nebula time portals back the past Thanos and his ship and the past Gamora, and they come to the Avengers headquarters, and they essentially just demolish and decimate the entire Avengers headquarters. They level that building, and everybody's like amongst the rebel. And so Rhodey, Rocket, and the Hulk are getting ready to drown. Like, Hulk is like holding up a big chunk of the building to try and keep the water out, but he can't do it for much longer. So Ant-Man is rushing to go help them, and his tiny microscopic self is going to go help them. And Clint ends up finding the Infinity Gauntlet that they created, and he's running through the building, running away from all these space monsters that Thanos has let loose in the headquarters. And he ends up finding Nebula, who he believes to be the new one. So she takes the gauntlet from him, and he's like, okay, you're on our side, you're on our team. Little does he know, she ain't who she claimed to be. So old Nebula ends up talking Gamora. New Nebula ends up talking old Gamora into helping her. So they end up having, not they, but old Nebula ends up having to be killed, like I knew she was gonna be. New Nebula ends up killing her past self. And it just leads up to this fight sequence between Thor, Cap, Iron Man, and Thanos. And I was not ready for it, because I thought, like, for sure they're gonna be able to take him down. That thing, he's not a man. That thing, that Titan, is very, very powerful, very, very strong, and he is a formidable opponent. He is a threat to be reckoned with, okay? For a brief moment, they were really kicking his butt, but then he kept getting the upper hand, and I'm like, it's 3 against 1. Come on, y'all. Like, come on. Like, you the god of thunder. Come on, Thor. Like, you the first Avenger. Come on, man. Like, you got some crazy, crazy revenge that you need to get. Avenge people's death. Y'all the Avengers. Avenge. And so in the middle of the fight sequence, Thor is, you know, on his back getting ready to be murdered by Thanos with his axe in his chest, very similar to the way that Thor attacked Thanos in Infinity War. But we see his hammer slap up beside Thanos' head, and I'm thinking that it's Thor that doesn't call his hammer. No. Captain America is strong enough and worthy enough to wield the hammer. And I'm like, what? So he ends up kicking Thanos' butt for a good 2 to 3 minutes, using his hammer and his shield. But then Thanos gets the upper hand again, and his shield is just like decimated. And just when we think that all is lost, we hear Sam Wilson's voice over the little earpiece in Captain America's ear, saying, "Cap, on your left." And then we see all these time portals open up, and everybody starts coming back. Doctor Strange comes back. Black Panther King T'Challa comes back with Shuri and Okoye. And he says, "Ibambe!" And I don't know why. I'm so glad that like the theater was loud enough, because if anybody heard me, I would be completely embarrassed. But it's just something instinctively in me that shouted "Ibambe!" as soon as he said it. I was like, "Ibambe! Wakanda forever!" That's my king. When he shouts "Ibambe," that's the war chant, the war cry. I fall in line, okay? So whatever. I don't care nothing about this message you're talking about. When I hear Ibambe, I'm running, okay? Ibambe. Valkyrie is there on her horse and her, just looking fierce. The Wasp comes back. Hope is back. Spider-Man is back. All of the Guardians of the Galaxy are back, and they brought all of their army. So you just start seeing Thanos look like, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. We deep in here, okay? We deep. We got everybody. You don't know who you messing with. The Scarlet Witch comes back. Everybody comes back, and they just full-fledged, like just thousands of them are coming out, because Thanos is bringing out like all of his troops, and I'm like, it's about to be a war, like for real. Like it just looked awesome. That fight sequence was just incredible. I'm so glad that the movie led up to that, because it was a little bit of a slow start, but it led up to that. And the feeling of, this is the final countdown. Like this is what it was all building up to. Like I just felt so exhilarated but sad at the same time, because I'm like, this is the end of an era almost. Like kind of like how I felt like at the end of the Harry Potter series. I was like, I'm happy that it's over, but I'm sad that it's over, because we've been through a lot of stuff together, all of us. And I'm sad to see it come to an end. But there was this, moment of female empowerment when all of the, the MCU female superheroes came together, and they all kind of band together to help Captain America get the Infinity Gauntlet back to the time machine, where she can go take the stones back to where they were supposed to be. And there was a brief moment where she fought Thanos, and I thought it was so cool. No, I left out this part. This part is awesome. So there's a part in the fight sequence where Thanos starts firing into the crowd from the ship. He's not in the ship, he's on the ground. But I guess he controls the ship because it's still like floating above them. And the ship starts firing, and then out of nowhere, the ship starts firing into nothingness, it would appear. And I'm like, no, I know who they firing at. My girl, they firing at Captain Marvel. That's my favorite. I don't care. I love Brie Larson. I'm partial. I'm biased. Whatever. I don't care. They're firing at her, and she just dismantles that ship all by herself, bro. All by herself. She that girl. Like, I don't care what nobody says. She's that girl. She's my favorite. So she dismantles the ship. And I'm like, yes, y'all needed her on y'all team. And I thought that, like, in the beginning, she seemed kind of cocky. And I don't really like the way that they wrote that. She seemed very cocky. She was like, I'm going to go kill Thanos. I'll be back. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. We're a team here. We all go, I know you used to working alone, but we're a team. And they're like, well, what's going to be different about this time? What if we lose? And she's like, well, you didn't have me last time. And I'm like... But I guess, she got it like that. She can back it up. So, after Captain Marvel fails to get the gauntlet back into the time machine. He takes it from her and puts it on Thanos. And we see Tony Stark look over at Doctor Strange, because remember in Infinity War, Doctor Strange said that he gave the time stone to Thanos because he didn't want he gave it he gave the time stone to trade for Tony's life. And he's like, that's the only way. Like, out of the millions of what am I trying to say? Out of the millions of scenarios that he went forward in time to look at, that was the only way. And it all just started to click for me. I'm like, the only way that they win is that Tony sacrifices himself. Everybody thought it was going to be Captain America who made the ultimate sacrifice. It was Tony. So Tony ends up getting the stones from Thanos, and he ends up snapping his fingers, and all of Thanos's troops, turn to dust. And, Tony dies, which is very sad. I was really hoping that it wouldn't happen. I was really hoping that they would bring him back, or that there was a way they could bring him back and use the stones. But they didn't. Tony dies. And then at the end of the movie, they send Captain America back in time to replace the stones. And, but he doesn't come back. He doesn't come back. And then they see this elderly man sitting on a bench. And it's him in his like 70s or his 80s. So we find out that he went back in time and decided, and I'm sorry, I'm happy for him, but I still feel like it was kind of selfish. He decides to go back in time to be with Agent Carter, the love of his life. And in that time branch, they're together and they stay together and they grow old together. And they marry and they live happily ever after. But he ends up giving his shield to the Falcon, Sam Wilson. And as per the comics, we find out that Sam Wilson is going to use this time to take on the Captain America moniker. So Captain America is hanging up his shield and he's retiring. So that was correct. That theory was correct. But the theory of Captain America dying was not correct. I'm very sad and very upset that Tony died. I don't know, man. Like, we had a great run. I'm really, really sad, though. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring Natasha back. I mean, Black Widow is the movie that's coming out. I don't know when, but we don't know for sure yet if it's going to be a prequel to everything, so her backstory, or if it's going to be a sequel, so maybe she'll be back. Maybe she'll be able to be brought back. But I don't know. We'll see. But that's pretty much the review of the movie. I really wasn't surprised by much, to be honest with you. I mean, I knew that it was going to be a 3-hour long movie, so when things were starting to go right, I knew, no, this isn't going to last, something's going to happen, something bad's going to happen. So when something bad did happen, I wasn't surprised. But how Thanos found out, I thought was very clever, the way that they wrote that in there. Yeah, but let me know if you guys saw why do I keep wanting to call it? Let me know if you guys saw Avengers Endgame. What did you think of it? What theories do you have that were debunked? What theories do you have that were correct and right on the money? And also let me know who your favorite Avenger is and what movies are you looking forward to coming out for this summer. I got on my Lion King shirt, but you guys can't see it. Hold on, let me get rid of this. You still can't see it? Here. Ooh, I got on my Lion King shirt because I'm super excited about Lion King coming out this summer. Alright, that's the end of this video, guys. I'm full and I've run out of things to talk about. So I will see you guys tomorrow for Veda Day number 29. Veda is almost over. We only have 2 days left. Can you believe that? I'm just thrown. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for watching.